Good afternoon, good morning. My name is John Fitzgerald and I'm from EMS Software. Today's webinar is going to be about enabling the workplace of the future, and I want to thank you for joining us here today. Joining me is Billy Hawkins, who's one of our solutions consultants, and as we go through today's presentation, Billy's going to give you a demonstration of some of the tools that help enable the workplace of the future. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Your lines will be muted as we go through the webinar, but there's a Q&A function on the right-hand side of your screen where you can ask any questions or bring up any concerns during the presentation. The recording of this will be emailed to you on Friday, July 22nd, so you can watch this in the future. Our agenda today is as follows. We're going to talk a little bit about the changing nature of work and what we're seeing in the workplace today. And then we're also going to introduce the concept of the workplace of the future. We'll do a demonstration of some of the tools that help enable the workplace of the future, and then we'll talk a little bit about how EMS helps enable that. We'll talk a few quick customer case studies of examples of companies who have embraced these technologies, meeting and room scheduling technologies, to help deliver the workplace of the future. We'll talk a little bit about EMS software, and then answer any of the questions that come up during the webinar. Also, please remember at the end of the webinar, after I finish speaking, a survey is going to pop up on your screen that we'd like you to please fill out so we can ask you just a couple of quick follow-up questions after today's webinar. As you can see, the nature of work really today has really dramatically changed, especially over the last 10 years. Today we have three generations that make up the workforce. About a third of them are baby boomers, another third are Generation Xers, and another third are millennials. And each of these have different styles and expectations of what they expect when they go to work. What we're also finding is that the nature of our work has changed, and there's a dramatic need for collaboration and innovation. And while about 90% of white-collar workers say they need to work with others to get their jobs done, about only a third find that they have the right tools and places and facilities to be able to collaborate with their coworkers. We're also finding that the nature of work has changed dramatically and on how employees are demanding work from anywhere flexibility. Gone are the days of being in the office every day. End users want to be able to jump on Wi-Fi at a coffee house, be able to work from home on the couch, or be able to work from virtually anywhere. And what's happened is that the way that this has changed, the expectations that users have of how they want to work is really changing the way that we work today. But it's also felt inside of the office itself too. The impact of the office, it's no longer just a sea of cubicles with offices around the outside for the bosses. Modern office is really built for Sorry about that, I hit the mute button by mistake. The office is really about creating the right spaces for employees. One of the big factors that's changing the office is the cost of the office space. Office space is shrinking because of costs today. An average workspace can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $14,000 per a survey that was done by Jones Lang LaSalle. And this is something that, after employees, the office space is usually the second largest expense an organization has when looking at the bottom line. Because of the way users want to change how they work, hoteling and open floor plans are the norm. And users aren't necessarily assigned an individual cubicle or assigned an individual office. They come in the office and they then pick the place that they want to work that day. The other impact that's being felt about the office is that candidates view the office itself as where they want to work. About 42% of candidates would look to decline offers from employers because of the space of the office that they want to work in. They don't like the way it looks. And so it needs to become part of the criteria, and it needs to be part of what end users look for when they look at a space. And then finally, the office itself just has to be cool. It can still have the foosball table, it can still have the espresso machine, but it still needs to be a place where end users can get the right space to get their work done. And so as we look to the workplace of the future, these are some of the impacts that are being felt across the office. And it's also being felt by everybody in the office. When you look at the users of meeting and room scheduling inside of a typical enterprise today, you have expert users and you have everyday users. Your expert users are the folks who are event coordinators, facilities people, real estate professionals. And then you've got your everyday users, employees, or other people who are working inside of your space. These type of users really just need the right tools to be able to quickly and easily find the space that they want to work in, and also want to make sure that they have the right space to work in. And with all of this, there's a lot of challenges that organizations face today. If we drill down into everyday users, one of the biggest pains that they have is that they want to find a place to work. They want to quickly and easily schedule a meeting, but they don't want to go through so many hoops to do it. It shouldn't take 15 minutes to find a room to set up a 30-minute meeting. They also need to work in the right place at the right time. The workplace of the future is not the workplace that we know from the past. They need to have the right type of space to be able to get what they need done, whether it's a conference room to work with colleagues, whether it's a quiet area to be able to get some work done, or it's an event space that they need to host customers in. And they want to make sure that they want to do that from a single tool and not multiple tools that they have to use to schedule these things. Expert users face a lot of challenges today too. Right now they typically have multiple jobs, multiple responsibilities, things that they need to work with. They use multiple systems, manual processes to manage those facilities, resources, and services that they need to put on events and other functions inside of a company. And with having multiple systems, they just want one tool to be able to do their job. And then finally, the other big challenge that enterprises face today is really around the bottom line. Cost of real estate, it just keeps going up. As I mentioned before, it can be $8,000 to $14,000 for an individual workspace. And after employees, real estate is typically one of the largest line items that exist on a company's bottom line. The spaces that they have, they're either underutilized, overutilized, or both. A lot of times from the bottom line, you don't understand what's happening with the spaces that you're working with. And then finally, the other component here of the workplace of the future is that we need to make sure that our users, our employees, are being able to maximize the productivity that they have inside of their office. So what is the workplace of the future? And really, when we look at the workplace of the future, it is something that's built upon a couple of different pillars. The first is social. The three pillars are social, technological, and physical needs. The social aspect of the workplace of the future creates spaces that are purpose-oriented and supports the highly collaborative needs that end users have. The workplace needs to give those users choices and flexibility while still being innovative and cool. It needs to be the place that they want to go and not dread or avoid going to. The physical aspect of the workplace of the future is all about the place and space that's offered to employees. People come to the office to be with others, to work with their team, to socialize with their colleagues, and it needs to have the spaces that are necessary for them to be able to get work done. It needs to have collaboration spaces, socialization spaces where they can get along and hang out with some of their different colleagues. It needs concentration spaces, places where they can just sit down and get work done without distractions from others, as well as places for mental breaks, being able to sit down and sit with a cup of coffee and take a little bit of a break to get some time to focus and then get back to work. And the final component here of the workplace of the future is the technology and tools that enable it. Workers today are tech savvy. Bring your own devices policies enable users to bring smartphones and tablets into the office. Internet of Things devices are popping up to help connect people to technology, and the technology that needs to be there to support all the employees' needs. They need to be able to have wireless access across the office that works in every nook and cranny in the building. They need the collaboration tools that they need to be able to chat and work with other coworkers, to be able to share screens and be able to do video conferences with things like Google Hangout or Microsoft Skype for Business. They need solutions to be able to meet and do work, the reserved spaces to meet and do work, and checked in so that unused rooms and spaces can be utilized, and occupancy sensors for free and busy information, and so much more. And in addition to the technology needs that are happening for inside of the four walls of the office, there also needs to be support for workers who are outside of the office. People who are working from cafes, working from home, working from remote locations. They need to have VPN access. They need to have VPN access and other remote tools to be able to collaborate with their other fellow employees who are inside of the office. So what does this workplace of the future look like? Well, to illustrate this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by taking a look at a workday in the life of Joe. As you can see here, we've got a little floor plan that I'll use to illustrate Joe's workday of the life in the workplace of the future. To begin, Joe comes in at 8:30 in the morning, checks into the building by using his badge to enter the building. Grabs a cup of coffee, and at 8:35, he goes and reserves a workspace for the day. Joe doesn't have an assigned seating here inside of this office, so he uses a mobile application on his phone to be able to find an available hoteling space for the day. A map on the app shows him where it is on side of the floor, and so he's able to then go to it and check into that space and reserve it for the day. Behind the scenes, the inventory is updated so that it's known that this space is unavailable for the day and that it's been assigned to Joe. His office line is automatically rerouted to the phone that's on that desk, and he's all set up to work for the day. At 10 o'clock, he attends a regularly scheduled staff meeting inside of one of the conference rooms with local and remote staff. For this meeting, the meeting organizer set up and arranged for some light catering. There's breakfast and some danishes that are in the room. And the video conference has been set up, and all of the remote participants who are working from home and working from other offices are connected and are now as part of the video conference in that meeting. As the day goes on, Joe gets a phone call from his financial advisor and realizes that he needs to have a little bit of privacy to be able to talk about some of his investments. He opens up a web browser, does a little quick search, and finds that one of the telephone rooms are available down the hall from him. He reserves it, walks down, and talks to his broker about his latest hot stock tip in privacy without having to do that kind of conversation inside of a sea of cubicles. And as the day progresses, Joe gets a call from one of his clients who wants to come in and have an executive briefing with his company. This is great news for him. He's been trying to line this client for years. So he grabs his team and finds an available huddle room to be able to meet in. There's a digital sign that's outside of this room, and he's able to go and see if it's available. It is, so he checks into the room, reserves it for he and his team, and they go through the process of planning the meeting that they're going to have when their customer comes in. And then finally, at the end of the day, Joe realizes Joe has wants to set up a great meeting, a great visit for his customer to come in. So he schedules a customer visit inside of the Executive Briefing Center. He opens up a web browser again, goes through the process of ordering all the different catering, all of the different food that he's looking for, and reserves it. Behind the scenes, all of the workflows are kicked off for the facilities team, the events team, and the catering team to make sure that all of the different components that are needed for that meeting are in the room and are ready for when the customer comes in. So what does this look like in real life? Right now, what I'd like to do is turn it over to my colleague, Billy. Billy's going to give a quick demonstration about how meeting and room scheduling software can be used to help support this workplace of the future. We're going to see a brief demo, and he'll show some of these things directly in action. With that, Billy?
Great, thank you, John. So for the demonstration today, I'm actually going to take you through a few situations that exist in my job here at EMS Software. As John mentioned earlier, it's very common to expect your everyday users to be on the go all the time, and that's pretty much what I do on a regular basis. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. First, let's say for the case of this example, or for myself, I take the train to work, and this morning I realized that I didn't really schedule a room for my team meeting. For me, scheduling this one is as easy as checking an email on my phone. I just open my app and tell it that I need a meeting room. I'm looking at my calendar right now, so I know that I have a number of appointments and a desk already assigned, so I just need to click that Add a Meeting Room to get that meeting started. It allows me to quickly review my options. I can choose a date and a time. I can also choose a location for myself. That can include anything from a favorite location that I use often, or even a room that is just immediately available in my general area. The system knows some things about me and can even remember those favorites, such as the common meeting times that I use. I just have to pick a room that I like and let the system do the rest. My reservation will be created, and I can review my calendar. Now, if I want, when I commit that reservation, I can review all the day plans and take individualized actions on them. Perhaps I realized that I really just wanted that meeting to be at the same date and time, but I need it in a different room, maybe a different floor or a different area. For this, I just swipe across the meeting, review and edit my changes. Now, this time, I pick a different room from the list of available meeting spaces, and I know that my calendar will be updated with that change, and if I elect to invite anybody, they will be updated with the room change as well. So I'm set for that meeting for the day. I can see that come up and that change occur on my calendar. Now, I've had a really good meeting with my team for that particular 12 to 1 o'clock item, and I'd like to have another session with my director and my colleagues, and I want to discuss some progress over maybe a small meal or a light lunch. So what I'm going to do is, I already have my laptop open for the day. I've been working in it all day, so I check my schedule, and I go ahead and I can request a room, invite coworkers, and find a good spot to meet up right from the browser that I'm already in. I have to invite my director as well as a coworker for this, so they need to know how well this project is actually happening, but I need to know if they're available for that. So by selecting them, I get to see their free busy information. Now for me, I have the option of looking for available spaces, but I already know the kind of rooms that I like and what features I need. So I have the ability to actually choose a video capable space directly by typing in the first few characters of the room that I like to use and see if it's available. Now, along with that, I can go ahead and choose any of those items, and with that, I can actually see if there's any additional items that I might want or need for that. Now, I know that I have a pretty good budget for this project, so I'm going to go ahead and order some good breakfast for my team, maybe a lunch item or two, and all I have to do is select those within the system itself. Plus, I will be inviting my client along with us for this particular meeting, so I do want to make sure that I pick some good items out of my catering menus. Now, because this is a working session, I do want to let my service teams know that I need to set everything up in the back so that we're not being interrupted with our normal work pace. Now, because I'm inviting a customer, I will invite him. In this case, my customer's name is Joe, and I want him to come in to see some review on this progress. After adding him to the meeting, I can certainly also bill this to a client or department code, in which case all of the budgetary information that's required for the catering services will be billed to that client appropriately. And I can do that simply by searching for his budget or client number within the system. Now, I don't have to worry about calling the front desk or dealing with any of the catering teams directly, because all of this information, as John said, will be fired off in the background for me to let the service team know where to set this up and make sure that the catering gets delivered. I quickly review the information that I'm providing, also noting that I do have to let my team know what this meeting is about. So I include in my message that I do want them to bring some additional notes about the meeting, and in doing so, this will also populate their their Outlook calendar for that particular invitation. Creating the reservation is simply a matter of clicking the green button, and I am all set knowing that that meeting will be created, that the individual teams and visitor management, security desk will be notified, as well as my catering gets set up appropriately. Now, at the end of my workday, I like to send out a lot of follow-up emails, and I want to schedule my follow-up with the team just to make sure we keep that momentum going. Since I'm already in Outlook, closing out all my emails and things like that, I find a good day where we can connect. I invite my coworkers and collaborators. I go ahead and create an appointment, and since my awesome project deserves an awesome meeting, I'm going to create one to reflect that. I look at my availability for scheduling, and then I choose a room that works for me. Since it looked like everyone was available during that date and time, I'm going to go ahead and pick a room to meet in. There's usually quite a few rooms available in my office, so especially this late in the day. So I'm going to filter down and choose a room with some options. For my team, especially the people that I know on my list here, I can't really get them to do anything without bribing them with some snacks. So I am going to include some snacks and services along with that. First and foremost, I want to be able to present this on the video or on the large screen, so I want to choose some AV equipment to be delivered there. And then I'm going to go ahead and also order that catering item just to compel my users to stay a little bit later in the day to help me out and finish this project. Now, when I choose my options here, I will be sending this out to the team, and I can see at a glance when my room gets reserved. So in this case, I do choose a couple catering items here, such as the soft drinks and the soda, and I agree to the terms and conditions. Moving right along with that, I can commit all of that into a reservation, thereby populating directly to my calendar, knowing that my attendees or my coworkers have been invited appropriately. And as we talked about earlier, everything else happens on the back end through our automated methods, and there's no reason for me to worry that anything won't actually be delivered on time and appropriately. My room has been reserved. EMS has notified me that I have my identifier or my approved reservation, and it shows up on my calendar. So with that, I can get back on the train and head home for the day, and I will give this back to John to follow up.
Thank you, Billy. And while I'm just transitioning, getting my screen back up here on the screen, what I would do is encourage that if you do have any questions at all, to please use the Q&A function here on the right-hand side of your screen to submit any questions. We'll get to as many of them as possible at the end of the presentation. So as we saw in Billy's demonstration, the workplace meeting and room scheduling software is really integral to the helping enable the workplace of the future. You have all of the different endpoints that end users access, whether it's Microsoft Outlook, a mobile application, a web application, a kiosk in a space, or a room sign hanging outside of a conference room. And then you have all of the different back-end systems that are part of the workplace of the future, your Exchange and Outlook, video conferencing, and all the other systems that help a business run. And this really is the key of where room and scheduling software come into place, because this is how it ties together all the different systems that enable the workplace of the future. EMS Software, it delivers a workplace of the future solution and meeting and room scheduling solution that includes both meeting and room scheduling, office hoteling, event management, classroom scheduling, as well as utilization statistics. One of the things that's incredibly important about building and fostering the workplace of the future is not only being able to provide the tools that end users need to be able to schedule the rooms that they want to work in, but it's also collecting the data and understanding how that space is being used. With our solution, we have over 100 out-of-the-box reports, and that's incredibly important with any meeting and room scheduling solution to not only capture the fact that somebody's in a space, but then providing that data to real estate and facilities people to understand how better to allocate space in the future. And then finally, we also deliver integration services to tie all of these solutions together, whether it's video conferencing system, existing human resource, or other IT solutions. This is all what's key to making sure a workplace of the future initiative helps to get in place, leveraging meeting and room scheduling software. One of the things, too, that's key to meeting and room scheduling is how being able to measure return on investment. We work with a third-party company called Tech Validate, and they send out surveys to our existing customers. And what we found, and was pretty impressive, was that in less than 12 months, 84% of our customers realized a return on investment by leveraging meeting and room scheduling software. And this is something that was measured in purely a number of different ways, including reduction in real estate, reduction in wasted catering, as well as even being able to save money on utilities by not having to turn on air conditioning or heating for different rooms. So this is something, too, that's truly key for any successful meeting and room scheduling software, is to ensure that the return on investment is made. What I wanted to do here is just spend a few moments talking about a few customer case studies who have embraced meeting and room scheduling software, as well as have deployed workplace of the future solutions. First is TIAA, which is a large pension system headquartered in the Midwest. Their challenge was that they had a number of different video conferences and meetings that were happening every day across 300 different meeting rooms. They had conference centers in New York, Charlotte, Denver, and Chicago. And the big problem that they were having was that there was really no no visibility into the room utilization and how those spaces were being used. And the other challenge was happening was taking a lot of time because of multiple systems and siloed systems for people who were reserving those spaces, as well as employees, to find and book those spaces in an efficient manner. The other challenge that they had was that their IT team was struggling to keep up with all the different equipment that they had that was spread across these different conference centers. They needed to know where their projectors were some of the other hardware that they had, and they needed to be able to have detailed inventory and tracking of those devices. TIAA, as part of their initiative, embraced a workplace and meeting room and scheduling solution, and were able to reduce an amazing amount of calls to their help desk by enabling users to do self-service for being able to schedule rooms. They had a 98% reduction in requests to this outsourced help desk and saved a significant amount of money. It also helped improve the communication between them and their catering providers. So they had a more streamlined thing to get all of those great snacks that were being put in the room for the meetings that they had. And then finally, they were able to focus their end users away from providing help desk support and providing getting away from event planning and logistics to more of the customer-facing responsibilities, being able to more focus on the people coming into the space and having meetings rather than doing stuff on the back end. So this is a great example of one of our customers who embraced a meeting and room scheduling software as part of their Workplace of the Future initiative. The next customer we're going to talk about is Cox Enterprises. As part of their initiative, Cox Enterprises, which is the cable company as well as a leading communications, media, and automotive services company, had multiple scheduling and resource systems that were in place for them to be able to schedule meetings. They had Outlook as well as a separate solution for video conferencing and catering. And what they really wanted to do was have a consolidated solution so that they get away from these different silos that they had that led to manual processes and inefficiencies. With it, as part of their initiative, they increased productivity for end users by leveraging Microsoft Outlook, a tool that they had and everybody used at their organization, to be able to schedule for their meeting and room scheduling software. End users were able to quickly and easily, as you saw on our demonstration before, go and find the place that they wanted to work, order the catering that they wanted, set up the video conference, and have the meeting go plus smoothly. It reduced all the administrative effort and reduced the number of different systems that they had. And the other statistic that they found, which I thought was kind of interesting, was that they improved attendee communications, and they were also able to get more meetings started on time because people had one single consolidated place to be able to find where their meetings were and where they needed to go. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing where they were able to measure their success of this initiative by having meetings starting on time. And the final case study I wanted to talk today about is from a Big Four accounting firm, and they're one of the largest US-based companies with more than 100 different locations. The challenge that they had is, as an accounting firm, a lot of their staff didn't have dedicated spaces inside of the office. They had gone to a hoteling initiative as part of their Workplace of the Future, and the problem that they were having was that they had no visibility about the actual utilization of that space. They kind of had this feeling that users were booking spaces for the day, and maybe not necessarily actually going and using them, or just not using them at all, or having them reserved as a contingency plan. I'll book 2 desks for me today, and if I can't use one, I'll use the other one. With it, and this is something that one of the great things about meeting and room scheduling is the utilization statistics that are generated, they were able to uncover that only about 50% of the offices were actually being used, and that about about a third of their hoteling space wasn't being used by transient employees. They discovered that there was over 1,600 workspaces were vacant daily, and as a result, they were able to achieve incredible cost savings of $36 million per year by being able to reduce their real estate costs by getting the visibility into that. They were able to provide the right spaces for the users that needed them as part of their Workplace of the Future initiative, and making sure that they understood how spaces were being used at their organization. And then finally, just a little bit here about EMS Software. Some quick facts here. Founded in 1986, our headquarters is in Denver, and we've got over 2,000 customers across the globe. We've got a couple of our marquee customers are listed up there on the screen of the 2,000 that we have today. And then also, using that same data that was collected by Tech Validate, there's information there about why our customers choose to partner with us. And it's because of our great depth and breadth of functionality, fastest and easiest way for them to schedule their meetings inside of their organization, proven return on investment, and an exceptional customer experience. What's interesting too is that Tech Validate, being a third-party company, collects this data for us. So these are our customers' words in their own words, and that's a little bit about why they come and partner with us. Speaking about customers, also wanted to mention that we have something called EMS Live, which is coming up this September, and it's a great place. It's an event that we have that's a great place for those who are considering meeting and room scheduling solution as part of their Workforce of the Future initiative. You'll be able to network and hear from enterprise customers who use EMS to solve real business solutions. And as announced this morning, a record number, more than 25 of our customers, will be presenting on topics like implementing EMS to support workplace strategy and implementing a successful hoteling strategy. If you'd like to find more information out about the event, please go to emssoftware.com/EMSlive. As I said, it's a great opportunity to work with your peers in the market today who are implementing solutions like what we're talking about. And then finally here, just before we open it up for questions, what I wanted to do was to just highlight here a little bit about what, as companies are looking to embrace Workplace of the Future, what does meeting and room scheduling really help deliver for it? Well, first of all, there's a dramatic increase in productivity. By providing tools to end users, by providing the right spaces and areas for end users to be able to get their work done, providing the right space at the right time for all of your users, and providing the tools where they can easily and more quickly be able to find those spaces to work in it. It's a dramatic increase in productivity for end users. It also helps attract and retain people. By offering this workplace of the future that supports a flexible workspace, providing the right spaces, and providing the tools that they need to get their job done, it really does help and attract, retain people. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, about 40 to 50% of, I think it was millennials, use and view, or actually would take a reduced salary to be able to have a workplace of the future type environment. And so it is something that providing that right space for your users really does help attract and retain those people. There's also, with this type of solution, a great way to be able to reduce costs. As we heard through the customer case studies, you can have a dramatic reduction in real estate costs. You get a dramatic reduction in non-productivity and be able to provide more productive workers, and it's a way of really helping to reduce costs. And then finally, and this is something that wanted to sort of really highlight too, with these types of solutions really can differentiate your brand. If we go back to the slide that I had earlier in the presentation, you have the sea of cubicles or you have the cool office space. Your office space is part of the brand that your organization has. And by having the kind of workplace of the future that end users want to work to, by providing an event space that your customers and prospects and partners can come to and be impressed by, really helps to differentiate your brand. And by having all the automated processes behind the scenes for, let's say, an event or a meeting where somebody from the outside is coming in, it really does give your organization really a great leg up on helping to establish your brand. No one wants to go to a meeting where they show up and have to wait in the lobby for 10 minutes while somebody scrambles to find a room and find the danishes that were ordered a week ago. And so really there is something really helps differentiate the brand by providing that flawless meeting. And with that, what we're going to do here is we're going to open it up for questions. We're going to review the ones that we have here in the side. Again, if you have any other questions, please let me know. Please add them into the chat. And with that, Billy, I think the first question that I have here was about integrations, some of the different tools that we can integrate with. Can you give some examples of some of the types of systems and how customers have used solutions like this to build a workplace of the future?
Absolutely, that's a great question. There's a number of different options that we offer, both with established partners that we already have with EMS Software, such as Crestron and Steelcase and Events to HVAC, where users have integrated things as simple as badge reading or room signage, or even internal room signage to turn on and off their video conference units, to things more advanced like turning on and off the air conditioning, bringing down the shades when a video conference starts, as well as some other more unique options like integrating with their security systems to actually have some form of presence detection in the room, thereby making their utilization reports even more accurate. Things like room sensors detecting if somebody is in the room and things like that. Our website does detail some of those partnerships that we have with Crestron, Steelcase, and Events to HVAC, for example, and we also have some third-party integrators out there that are willing to work with alternate systems that we might not have a direct integration with, but do have the capability of supporting through the use of things like our API. So that's a great question.
Great, thanks, Billy. And the next one I had here was around the mobile application. What platforms is it supported on?
Absolutely, great question as well. So we do technically and actually have now, as of the June release, 3 full-blown versions of the mobile application. We have an iOS native application, which is available on the Apple Store. That's available today for download. We also have an Android version, which is available on the Google Play Store for download. It does require, of course, that you have the EMS software to support it. And then we also have what we call a web responsive or agnostic version. And that's really just a re-architecture of the entire web-based application so that users that are using a non-standard device or even a device that may not have native support for those platforms, like a Windows phone or a BlackBerry, can still access and use the full breadth of functionality of a mobile device architected for the size and real estate of their screen.
Perfect, great. And let's see, got another question here, which is, when you send the mobile application, can you do all the scheduling of the room from your Outlook calendar from the mobile device? And I guess kind of maybe a way to ask this question a little differently is, if we look at the mobile application, how does it interact with Outlook, or what's the experience the end user has?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So the mobile application actually talks to EMS in the same way that all of our other platform applications do, meaning that it recognizes that EMS maintains the source of truth for the room reservation, catering, services, etc. So that information is provided to the application no matter what platform you're using. And that also includes our Exchange integration component. The Exchange integration component, which was briefly mentioned during my day in the life, is a component that allows you to actually see whether or not people are available when you invite them to a meeting. So in a good case example, if I wanted to create a meeting with my collaborators, I could choose a date and time and pick a room and also invite those people, and the mobile app will respond to me with a very simple plus or minus, green check mark, red X kind of situation, whether or not that person's free busy schedule is available for that meeting. Regardless whether or not they're available, I can still send that invitation from the native application, and it will present the users with an Outlook-style appointment invitation, transparent to anybody who receives that message that it did come from a mobile app or a third-party application such as ours. So to answer the question very specifically, if I use my mobile application, I can invite attendees as if I were sitting in front of Outlook creating a meeting myself.
Perfect. And then let's see, the next one I have for you is, can this provide wayfinding?
Sure. So that's a very good question. The system that we have for the mobile application platform does have a GPS or geofencing component associated to it, and that's primarily for the use of check-in and utilization, meaning that if I am a workspace of the future employee and I need to check into a given desk, what the system will allow me to do in the mobile application is, as I approach that desk, I can check into it and validate that I am physically at that location, thereby managing and manipulating the utilization. With wayfinding, in general, most of our web-based platform applications, such as Kiosk and the web application, do have interactive floor plan mapping that can show you various locations, who's at those locations, and what the schedules are for the day. However, the system isn't yet architected to designate where you are in relation to where you need to be. So in the term of wayfinding, we find that there's two common definitions of that. There is wayfinding in, I geographically want to know where that room is on a floor, or wayfinding where I physically want to know turn-by-turn directions. We do have the first option. We do not yet have the second option. However, our developers are in progress with that on our roadmap for a future release.
Great, perfect. And again, if you have any questions, please submit on the right-hand side. I think we've got time for just one more here. And then the last one here, and I guess question is, I guess when we showed a little bit about for the integration with HR systems and Active Directory, maybe just at a high level, can you give us kind of an example of how customers can leverage the data that might be stored in, say, Active Directory about a user or a human resource system about a user, and how that can fit into the workplace of the future and meeting and room scheduling?
Absolutely. EMS kind of excels in that respect because we have a native application built into the product that allows us to actually integrate with an HR source of record. And without getting overly technical about it, because I'm very good at doing that without realizing it, the concept of it is this. If you have a source of truth, such as Active Directory or LDAP, or even like a federated authentication such as SAML, what we can do with that information is actually on a regular basis poll against that data to not only keep all of our records up to date as to who's in the system, who can make reservations, who you are, but also manage who can be logged in and what level of access they actually have. So say, for example, you have 100 employees in your office and they're all in your Active Directory feed. We don't want to have to make you as an organization have your IT team reiterate that information every time you hire somebody or every time somebody goes on leave. We don't want to have to duplicate any of that information. So what we do with our HR toolkit is we allow the system to recognize and read that information, updating not only active user changes, but also hires, terminations, leave of absences, things like that. Now, the amount of information you elect to pull in is completely up to you. You can pull as little information as email address, username, first name, last name, that type of data, or we can actually collect all the rest of that kind of demographic data, such as common building or address, fax number, phone number, person's extension, all of those different pieces of data, up to and including badge information or employee ID information, if you elect to transmit that or present that to EMS to be read. Now, all of that information can be associated within EMS in a number of different ways, but the primary reason we use it is to support our integrated authentication, meaning single sign-on actions, such as when you open a web browser and go to the web application, you don't have to log in twice. First in your computer and then into the EMS application, but secondarily to associate some kind of security policies surrounding what your users can do. We might know that all of our standard employees, for example, have access to make reservations for rooms and meeting spaces, but contractors that are here temporarily, while they may be added to your Active Directory, might not need that level of access. So you can actually, using Active Directory, restrict those people, and EMS will respect those security groupings. So again, that gets a little technical and I can keep going down that rabbit hole, but that's the basis of how that works.
Perfect, that's it. That's great. No, and I think what we'd like to do here is let's wrap it up. I want to thank everybody who attended here. Billy, I want to thank you for your great demonstration. As you saw today, we've got meeting and room schedule. It really is the key of building and enabling a workplace of the future. If you want to find more information about this, please visit our website at emssoftware.com. You can find information about our products and services, our partnerships, as well as information about some great customer case studies, as well as information about our upcoming event, EMS Live, which we encourage you to take a look at if you're looking at building a new initiative here in this area. With that, we're going to end the call right now, but there will be a small survey that's going to pop up here at the end of the presentation. Please fill it out. We really appreciate it. And with that, thank you all for your time. Thank you, Billy, and everyone have a great day.